Alright, let's do our open box experience for the lian-li P28. So this is a 28mm fan, so it's got a little bit of extra thickness there. So first, inside the box, we got some bubble wrap, which is what the fan actually came in, and some instructions. It basically talks about how to interconnect multiple of these fans. Now, I bought a single fan, however, it does come in triple packs, which I so happen to have one of. So in the triple pack, you do have a basic inline fan controller for low, medium, and high by just pressing that if you want to use it. And you got color matching extenders. So this just connects right into the plug right there. So it'll match the general aesthetic. It looks kind of like an oversight to have the plug that attaches to the motherboard be black, but realistically it is fine. And what else do we have in here? More extenders, extender. Oh, and the flat connector. So that is something that is missing on that one, where that should just... Yes, I'm matching a black and a white together. Oh, no way. That's actually really cool engineering. Okay, so this would allow the multiple fans to connect to one another. So yes, the blasphemy, I'm connecting a black and the white together. Ta-da! So they are now attached to each other using that locking system. And then where'd that standoff go? So then we got the standoff. And we come over to this side. Or was it this side? This side. And we take this, rotate it, and then it pops right out. And then you can take this and you line it up with the slots. Something like... Let's get my camera up. Something like... There it is. And then you push it backwards and it locks into place. And now the fans are managed via this. And this would plug into the specialized, the customized hub that comes with a lot of lian-li fans. So that's pretty spiffy. So this only comes in the triple pack. And the double pack, slide them apart, and it's right back to regular. It comes with this, just bloop, plugs right in, and you're ready to go. This might also, or this might just be an extender to then kind of take the end of that and reach to the next fan if you want to put one in the back. Not entirely sure, so maybe that either goes into the hub or it's just a basic extender. The white one is just going to show up a little bit better here. The blade design is very reminiscent of most modern fan blades these days, where it looks like the A12X25 and the rest. The blades are reasonably stiff, and they get very close to the edge, actually very, very close. That is excellent to see. Wow, that is, I mean, I can't even see the gap there. So the only weakness in this frame design I see is that there's no inlet. The blades go right up to the edge, which means in a pull configuration, these are potentially very noisy. So that is a bit of a downside with the design. So it's either an oversight or just lian-li doesn't care about using these in that kind of configuration where you want the pretty side kind of in the case. So you know, you'd have your radiator on this, it would be on the top or whatever, and you'd be looking at this side of the fan. Maybe that's how they're envisioning it. I certainly think it's very good looking. It basically looks like a white A12X25 with a little bit of extra flair around the housing. The housing certainly looks a bit, or I should say the frame, looks a little bit thicker than the A12. So since we got a white and we got the black version, we're going to take a quick look. The performance was near on identical within overall error, so very insignificant. So the front sides of it looks near on identical. Now the plastic, where it's got these shiny bits, looks more visible in the black than it does in the white. It just shines a little bit better. The white looks more muted, I'm going to say. The black one looks a little bit more outstanding. But if it's in your case, you're pretty much going to be looking at it from the side anyway, so kind of a moot point. So there it depends on, do you like the brushed black with a silver accent, or do you like the brushed silver with just a shiny accent? Personally, I'm liking the black one better, but that's why I got the two options so that you can choose for yourself. That is the kind of the whole point of these. And then we're taking a look at the back of the frame. So this is really cool looking. You can see a little bit better on the white one, where you can see the inner workings of the housing, basically what's underneath there. And here we go. We got a low performance, medium performance, and high performance modes. That's what the clicker did. Or you can just let the fan be controlled via PWM fan signal, and you're one and done. Which, in my opinion, is what you should actually do. You should just run it off of PWM and control your RPMs that way, rather than using that little fan controller. I think it's kind of a waste, me personally. But hey, if you have a use case for it, I'd like to know. Here, I got an A12X25 for reference. So if you're comparing that inner edge to here, it just looks a little bit wider, and every little bit of difference can add up. And I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but obviously it is just a tad bit thicker, and you have to discount the thickness of those rubber pads there. So again, the blade design is very reminiscent of what we're seeing in the A12X25. The tips are a bit more rounded, the edges look smoother. There is no features on the blades itself. They're very smooth, and they are a overall hybrid style, actually leaning a little bit towards airflow design because there isn't that much overlap, but it should certainly be good in all applications, I would say, based on the blade design and how it actually performed in testing. So it did fairly quite well. The frame, as we did see how they interlocked together. I'm going to do that again real quick, if I can get it oriented the correct way. So just line them up, slots into place. They create a nice seal between the two fans right there. So that means that when they're actually hooked up to a radiator or whatever, it'll create a nice seal around it, so it boxes everything, so the air gets forced through the radiator rather than seeping out the edges. So that means they're actually put that thought in mind for using those pressure applications. That's something Noctua is missing. They don't interlock, but they do still have the nice square frame, so they do lock nicely together. One disadvantage is all the fans will be locked to the same PWM fan signal. You can't individually control each fan. So if, let's say, you wanted to have them scale slightly differently for whatever reason, you can't do that using this interlocking system. But it does reduce the number of fan headers, so if your motherboard is limited, this is certainly a great option. And let's see, there's no inlet on it, so the fan blades are close to it. I already talked about that. Okay, move around to the back. There's certainly a large amount of space between the blades and the housing. Noctua's look a bit closer. Now, you don't want to get them too close because there will be interference between the blades and these struts, which will create extra noise. So you do actually want to make sure there's some gap there. And you also want to make sure they're nice and skinny so that they produce less noise. And you want them nice and skinny so they also don't block the airflow going past them very much. So lian-li has done a fairly good job of making them angled so that the air is deflected around it and not really just put up to a dead stop. Now, because you need plugs on both sides, you got these two thicker struts. Noctua could do a little bit better with theirs, integrating these cables into one of these. That would streamline theirs a little bit more. So there are improvements that Noctua could make, but lian-li requires two thicker ones because it needs to be able to transfer basically power and data from one into the next, into the next, into the next, so on and so forth. So a little bit of a disadvantage there. How much it actually affects performance, probably not that much realistically, but it's still there, and the thicker strut does affect the noise profile a little bit more than just the skinny flat ones. And just looking at the back, it's got a little notch there. I'm sure there's an engineering reason behind it. I am an aerospace engineer, but without doing a real analysis, like putting this into software. I couldn't tell you exactly why there would be a notch there. It's not something we see over here. So basically, wrapping it up, lian-li created basically another high quality fan. This one without RGB, so definitely a very premium look and premium feel. This is an aesthetics first fan, and you do pay for that with your wallet price tag to the fan itself. It looks very good, has performed well so far in the testing. It lacks RGB, so if you want a fancier looking fan without RGB, this is certainly a winner there. And their interconnect system is also pretty spiffy too. So let's move on to the value proposition and see how it ranks up there.